that was the first movement of the first sonata, solo sonata by Bach for violin, for solo violin alone. It's the Adagio. It's in G minor, and it's kind of the start of an epic journey, really, because you have these 6 sonatas. They're broken up into 3 sonatas and 3 partitas, and they're, in a way, they're kind of the hardest thing you can play on a Baroque violin, for lots of different reasons. So it's just you playing there, and you are playing not just the tune. Normally, as violinists, we're very good at playing tunes, or maybe a second violin part. Sometimes we get to play a bass line, the bottom part, in a duet or so. But very rarely do we have to supply the real proper fundamental bass line with all the harmony and the kind of tenor line and the alto line and the top line as well. So the challenges here lie within that. So just really bringing out the bass, because, well, especially in Bach, but in all Baroque music, everything relies on the grammar of the bass and the harmony that, of course, it implies. And Bach is very clear about what everything means. So the dissonances need to be really strong and very expressive, dramatic in some cases. For instance, if it's a diminished chord, for instance. And the resolutions need to come away and be soft. Those are the kind of basic grammatical rules for Baroque music, and it works extremely well in Bach. So all you really need to do is take the music. I've got a really small little book of Bach, really cute, good for planes and trains, for studying. And this is his hand. It's really beautiful. And you just need to kind of read it and play it, and it's all there. It's just like following a map. You just need to know how to read it. You need to know that when the road goes that way, you need to turn right and things like that, and what you need to do at a crossroads. And so the crossroads is, for instance, a cadence. If it's an interrupted cadence, you might want to show a bit of surprise or something like that. Technically, it's hard to do. In other words, the technical difficulties in this movement have to do with managing all 4 strings at the same time, so on chords, because of course you can play chords in lots of different ways. You can just play, or you can play with different timing. So there are lots and lots of different ways of doing that, and what you really need to learn to do is to be able to bring out different voices within the chords, depending on what needs to be brought out in terms of the voice leading. So if the tune is, for instance, in the bottom, then you need to bring that out more, or if it's in the top, of course, that's obvious. If it's in the middle part, that's a tricky one to bring that out, because, of course, naturally your bow will just go right across. The wonderful thing about playing a Baroque instrument is that you get the depth of the gut string. Because it's porous, you can go right into the string. So you never really stay just on the surface. You go right into the string, and you can do that with different degrees. So you can play right on top of the string, like that, kind of velvety sound. And you can go further in as much as you like and as much as you dare. And you definitely know when it's too much, because then it sounds a bit rough, like this, like that. So you might not want to do that, although it can also be very expressive, of course. But for instance, if we just look at the first phrase, you've got these 4 chords. First one is G minor. Yeah. And the next one has a little 4th in there, a 7 and a 4th intervals. Yeah, so you want to bring that out. You want to bring the 7 out. And then you have a resolution. Another 7 chord and a tritone in the top, so that's strong, dominant. And back to tonic. So that's going to be lighter. And actually the voice leading at the end, it really ends there. So what you do is so you kind of come back. So, epic piece. That's Biber. Heinrich Ignaz Franz von Biber, bit of a tongue twister. 17th century composer. Passacaglia in G minor. It comes right at the end of a set of pieces called the Mystery Sonatas, or also known as the Rosary Sonatas. In fact, I've just recorded them. And this, actually, I've recorded this twice. I also have it on a disc called The Guardian Angel, and this piece is actually called The Guardian Angel. Just to explain, the whole set, each sonata has a different name, and it's all biblical. So it's all about the life of Christ and Mary. So we start with the Annunciation, and then there's the Nativity, and then it kind of goes right through the life of Christ and Mary. And it all the other sonatas are with continuo, and the special thing about those pieces is that they all require different kind of tuning. So you don't have your normal kind of fifths, but you have something called scordatura tuning, and so you have to deliberately mistune the strings to different intervals. So sometimes you might have a fourth between the strings, or a third, or a combination of different intervals. So it's a really quite a different kind of thing to do, and it's pretty unique. I mean, the technique of scordatura was used a lot in the 17th and 18th century, but as far as we know, this is the only set that requires so many different tunings. So if you ever perform a few of them in a concert, then you need like 4 or 5 violins to do so. So this Passacaglia, which is the only one for solo violin, comes right at the end, and it's called The Guardian Angel. And so Passacaglia meaning there's an ostinato bass, a recurring bass with these 4 notes, this descending tetrachord. And you sometimes, as you heard, you sometimes hear them on your own, on their own. It feels a little bit strophic, so you have kind of different verses, and they're kind of divided by the bass line that you hear on its own. And it tends to develop, so it's a little bit like a kind of architecture that goes up and gets more intense in the middle, and then kind of calms down at the end. And the only major chord really in the piece is right at the end, so you can kind of see the guardian angel fluttering off or something like that. And it's really just variations. It's like an improvisation, and you could, make it up. So some of it you could make it up, or it needs to sound like you're making it up. And it's actually a very good exercise to do that, to just play those chords and to see what comes out, and then to have that kind of spirit of invention in mind when you actually play the piece. And I'm very, very fond of it. I love performing it, and there's always a kind of very still atmosphere after you've performed this piece. Thank you.